R. Kelly just dropped this 19-minute song where it was, you know, I mean, it wasn't all the way a confession, but I mean, I guess he was just like airing a couple things. So in this 19-minute song that he released, he talked about how he had sex with his best friend's girl, how he had sex with his, I think he said his girl's best friend. He talked about how he couldn't read. He talks about how he couldn't write, how he has dyslexia. He talks about all of these things in the song. So the song starts out by him saying, you know, he admits that he made some mistakes. He has some imperfect ways. He helped so many people. He talks about how, you know, it was hard for him to focus. He didn't go to class. He dropped out of school. So then the song goes and he starts to say how he has flaws. He told lies. He blew so much money. He couldn't read the teleprompter when he was at the Grammys and they asked him to present. Okay, so then it starts to get juicy. And then he's like, he's not going to drop no names or nothing like that. But he effed one of his homeboys' girls. And then he effed his girlfriend's best friend. Then he drops more tea and he's like, he signed away his publishing. And when I got to the part where he signed away his publishing, I'm like, oh my God, like R. Kelly has this big catalog. So to hear him talk about how he has this big catalog that he has made all of these songs and then talks about how he signed away the publishing to all of his records, I'm like, it's crazy because I thought that he would have owned most of his works because he's like a genius when it comes to that. And he writes, produces the songs. Like he's like a big part of like the overall, like everything about the song. So to hear that a big portion of it was signed away to the label, that was crazy. But I want to know what you guys think about it. If you have Skype, I want to try to take some calls. I don't know how, maybe nobody's added me yet. Maybe you guys don't have Skype, but I want to hear you guys' input on the matter. My Skype is Neek at Night 1. Neek at Night 1. So that's my Skype. And I want to talk to a couple of you guys by calling in. Let's see. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. Please don't badmouth R. Kelly. I'm glad that he admitted his wrongs. Others will not do it. They in the limelight and can't even admit half of the stuff they have done. I'm not here to badmouth R. Kelly, but I am here to hold an open dialogue, and I want to get different people's opinions on the matter. You know, I want to have an honest dialogue. If I'm able to get Skype calls, I don't know. I don't know if I'm able to, or maybe you guys don't have Skype. I don't know. Anyways, R. Kelly signing away his publishing was the most surprising to hear in the song. Yeah, that was the most surprising to me because it's like he's the writer, the singer. He is the like lyrical genius overall. So to hear that he signed away, you know, his creative like rights and his publishing, that was like something really, really crazy to me. And I was just like, wow, you know, like you think that, you know, you hear a lot of stories where it's like TLC story where, you know, they were robbed in their record deal. And then you hear stories about so many other groups coming up back in the day. But a lot of those people, they got out of certain deals after a period of time. And I would have thought that if he really truly can't read and write and he was because it's also difficult because when they sign those contracts, they normally have a lawyer present. But a lot of times when they have the lawyers represent the artist, they're lawyers that the label gives you. So they don't necessarily have your best interest at heart. So I would have thought that he would have fought like for that after he realized what he did to try to, you know, fight to get his publishing, knowing that like if he didn't comprehend the terms of his deal. But, you know, I don't know. That was really surprising to me to find out. Let's see. Maybe somebody's calling me. Okay. Hello?
Hey, can you see me?
No, hold on, wait. I can't see you, but I can hear you though.
R. Kelly is canceled for me. I want him to put music. I tried to separate R. Kelly, the artist, with the whole, R. Kelly, the bad guy, or whatever you want to say, but I just can't. So I'm not even gonna listen to music, and that whole 19-minute thing, I feel like was just like he's just trying to get sales. Everyone said he's broke.
Uh-huh.
Remember how he put out the Closet song, and it got all controversy, and he got money from that revenue or whatever. Well, I think he's trying to do the same thing with this shock value, this 19-minute song, and it's not gonna work. Have you heard his wife or ex-wife remix the song? I think yesterday.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard her remix it, but I did see the Shade Room posted something where, I mean, I guess it was her response, but I didn't know that it was a song attached to it. I just seen that she had responded, but I didn't know that it was in the way of a song.
Yeah, she said I didn't hear it. They said she remixed the 19-minute version. I guess to her version probably respond to the things that he was saying on there. And I kind of feel like in the song, he blamed a lot of people. I don't feel like he took any responsibility. Oh, it's the parents' fault. Dad dropped her off, or whatever. He never said, well, yeah, he may have dropped her off, but I was still the adult and still did it anyway. I just feel like he blamed everyone else for what he did.
And well, the girl was of age, though. That's the whole thing. Like, technically, and I think the girl that he's talking about is the girl who, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming in that part when he said, because when it came out, the girl Jocelyn, who was supposed to be like a part of, being held captive, and her parents held a press conference, it came out that her parents knew R. Kelly. So I'm assuming that it's the girl Jocelyn who had went on TMZ and everything like that. And from my understanding, she was of age. So she was.
Well, I will say, I do agree with R. Kelly when he says that a lot of times parents would drop their kids off because those parents are trying to get their coin, and they're kind of pimping their kids out. We're gonna be honest about it. No one will talk about their side of the story. That's the only thing I will agree with R. Kelly is that a lot of parents are just dropping their girls off, dressed a certain type of way, and then when something happens, like they cry wolf, after the fact.
Right. And that's something that he addressed in the song where he's talking about, okay, I see right here it says, Drea Kelly, she responds to his 19-minute tracks saying, your mom is watching over you and rolling over in her grave because of the abusive things you do. You say she's looking down from heaven, so there's nothing she didn't see, which means she saw you beat me from heaven and neglect her grandbabies. Admit it, your children you don't see because you treat them like your fans and not your flesh and blood. Please, being a deadbeat dad is a conscious choice. You can FaceTime with them every day. They'd see your face and hear your voice. So admit it. Then go get some professional help. Own the pain that you've inflicted on others all by yourself. Even though you can't read or write, it didn't stop you from making hit songs, but you don't have to read or write to know domestic violence is wrong. So admit it. Your past is not an excuse. Just because you were abused doesn't mean you get to abuse. Admit it, because the truth will set you free. Nothing good is going to come to you until you do right by me. So I guess that's the response from his wife. What do you guys in the chat think about her response to his 19-minute song? And how many of you guys in the chat heard the 19-minute song? I don't remember him talking about abusing anyone. I'm not sure.
I don't think he says anything about abusing anyone, but he does admit that he was abused, and I'm not sure if he's saying that's why his actions are the way that they, and I mean, that's kind of a hard subject because if he was abused, that's horrible. And sometimes if kids were abused when they become adults, they do repeat or do similar things that happen to them in their youth. That is a true statement. But and the fact that he can't read or write, I'm not sure what that has to do with any of that, honestly. I'm not sure the sympathy thing. I'm not really sure why he said he can't read or write. Because it's not really relevant to everything that's happening. That's the part I don't get.
Him not being able to read or write is relevant to him not taking care of his financials correctly and being able to sign contracts and handle his business. I think that is relevant. And then I've seen some other people state like, oh, you're grown. How can you not read and write? But there's several people in this world who don't put education first. And there are several people who are like geniuses in certain areas. You'll see people who have like Down syndrome and things like that, where, they're not smart in this area, but then they're like geniuses when it comes to math, or they're not smart in this area, but they're geniuses when it comes to like writing and things like that. There are certain people who, and he's talented as far as like music goes. So he very well could not read and write. And I think the reason he brought that up is because, it's important to know why his business end wasn't handled the way it was handled. And, he's crying out for help because at the end of the day, he has all these hits. He has this big, I guess it's called discography. That's what your collection of work is, I think. But he has this big body of work and he has nothing to show for it because he's broke. So I think that's why, he brought up the whole
the not being reading, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay, so Let's Talk Classic Hip Hop says, I see what Lockhead Boss Lady is saying. R. Kelly not being able to read or write well is no excuse for abusing others. And no, that isn't an excuse to abuse others. I think that, again, the reason why I think that he brought up the fact that, he couldn't read or write was because he wanted like the people to understand like his financial state, and he wanted people to understand why his business end wasn't handled properly. I think that was the reason why that was brought up. I don't think that had to do with anything about like, abuse. I think it was just like, I'm just gonna lay everything out there. I'm gonna talk about this, and this. And when it came to, the sex code, and when it came to like him actually admitting anything, he didn't actually admit to anything illegal, which I mean, I feel like if he would have done that, that would have been dumb to say like, yes, I'm having sex with underage girls. Like, come on. Like, I really wasn't expecting that. If he would have done that, what happened? Wait, hold up. So Her Supreme says, he could stay broke. Please hand R. Kelly back his nuts and hold him accountable. You feel so compelled to mention his abuse. Offer help. Stop making him a victim. She says, your point, hold him accountable. He is using his abuse as an excuse as to why he's abused others. He can suck one. He deserves everything coming to him, even his lack of peace of mind. I don't know. I want somebody else to call in though and give your opinion on the matter. Is this Trent?
Yes.
You like, yes. Okay, so what are your thoughts on R. Kelly, Trent? Because you have a different opinion, I guess, about it.
I don't know if it's different. I just think I feel how most people are not saying how they feel.
Okay, and how do you think that most people feel?
I think that most people feel like that R. Kelly is, he's a rich celebrity and he's doing what pretty much all the rest of them are doing too. And he's just getting too much slack because it's trending and popular right now. Like, there's a million people that they could be going after, but they're just choosing to go after him because it's a trend or whatever. But like he said in the song, a lot of these little girls, their own parents be like, sending them up to him, hoping that they can get a pay out of it.
Right.
And I feel like they're going too far as far as the whole mute R. Kelly thing goes, because, I mean, like I said in the chat, Seventh Heaven is still on TV. and Harvey Weinstein's films are still getting, played on every movie channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you feel like they shouldn't be going in on R. Kelly as much as they're going in on him based on why?
I feel like it's a witch hunt, and I also feel like, he ain't pee on me, so I'm gonna still keep bumping the music.
Okay, but what about if there's like innocent girls that he's like violated? I mean, at this point, we don't know it to be actual and factual because allegedly it wasn't him.
That a person should be like condemned over accusations, number one. And number two, I truly don't believe that any of those girls have been held against their will. Or nor do I believe any of them were at least been innocent.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like if they're willing, it shouldn't be a problem because you don't think that they were held captive.
I really don't think they're being held captive. I mean, I could be wrong too, but a lot of people, I'm noticing a lot of like big names, even on YouTube, are saying similar sentiments, like that these girls were already off the chain, and a lot of them are pursuing him independently on Instagram and sliding his DMs or whatever. So what is it like a victim situation? I mean, I have yet to see him actually like run up on somebody in the street and rape them. These people are like willfully going to his house. But I don't want to get too far into it because at the end of the day, I want to be neutral because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the music goes, since we don't know, I'm gonna keep playing it.
Okay, so you just feel like because we don't have solid proof, it's too soon to like condemn him because he hasn't been convicted. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and also, what are we trying to prove? Because if he has a house full of what's, he's kind of doing the same thing Hugh Hefner did without ever anyone even looking at him crazy.
Right. And Hugh Hefner had a lot of young girls, definitely had a lot of young girls. Do you think it's more acceptable for white men to do it than black men, being that, Hugh Hefner got away with it? Or do you think that, why do you think that R. Kelly is perceived the way he is and Hugh Hefner was perceived the way he was when they, in a sense, it's like the same thing?
You hit the nail on the head. It's because he's black, and black people are always gonna be scrutinized heavier for anything, not just something like this, but literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
If a white man is powerful, that's pretty much, people feel like it's expected for him to do certain things, so we're not gonna trip on it. But a black man, it's like you step one toe out of line and it's over.
But I think the thing that's like getting people like all hung up is because it's like the word, like it's a cult, and there's like, I think the underage thing, like with Hugh Hefner, like allegedly all the girls were supposed to be 18 years old and they were like fresh 18. But I think the problem with R. Kelly is because we know how young Aaliyah was when she got with him. She was, I want to say, was she like 15 years old? And he was like either late 20s or 30 or something like that. So I think the Aaliyah thing and then the peeing thing, I think that is what, has people like more inclined to believe the allegations and make it be wrong. Because I think it's the underage thing. I don't think it's so much of just because it's a lot of women. I think it's the underage thing. What do you think?
I think I still feel the same way about it. I feel like people are trying to people are looking for a valid reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like the real reason they just plain and simply hating on it. But they want to mask it as something else. Like, oh no, I just feel sorry for young impressionable girls. But no, it's not. That's not what it is. I think they're just mad because it's popular to like jump on a black man, especially if they're some kind of successful. And I hate that I got to be honest about it, but that is how I feel about it. I just feel like that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what my gut is telling me. So I can't really I can't just jump on board with it.
Right. I think a lot of people like hear a headline too, and I was looking before I started this live chat. I had seen somebody. I think it was like Star in the Morning. He had did a video, and I didn't watch his whole thing, but he was talking about the R. Kelly song and everything like that. And then somebody called in, and they were like, "Yeah, R. Kelly is a rapist, just like Charlemagne the God was." And then Star asked him, they're like, "Oh, like why? Like, did you watch the tape?" And then he was like, "Oh no, I never saw the tape. I'm 22 years old." And then he was like, "Okay, well, how you calling him a rapist? Like, based on what?" And then he was like, "Oh, well, just that's what people say." So I think it's a lot of, somebody says it and people are just like automatically, I think that's a lot of that has to do with it too. It's like groupthink, like you said, like everybody just going in. But I mean, I don't know.
The thing with me is I wouldn't have a problem with people doing that because a lot of people just have a sheep kind of mentality where they have to follow the herd with no questions asked. But if it was an equal opportunity sheeple situation, then I would be like, less critical of it. But like I said, these white celebrities aren't getting the same treatment, so I can't help but feel some type of way.
But do you not feel some type of way being that he has a history of young girls? That doesn't bother you at all, knowing Aaliyah's age and knowing
I don't consider 15-year-olds being victims. I hate to say it, but
really?
Yeah, because like my aunties, they were like when they were 15, they dated 40-year-old guys. My grandma was fine with it. Like she was like, them dudes was paying your auntie's bills. I was cool with it. Because
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. At 15 years old, I'm not able to. I'm still learning life. Like at 18 years old, I was still learning life. At my early 20s, I was still learning life, and I feel like I don't know. At 15 years old, that's like robbing somebody of their youth because you're taken out of this childhood role and now you're swung into adulthood and you're not really ready for that. Your mind isn't really equipped for that. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't agree with that part.
No. I agree with you 300% on that. But some of these 15-year-olds, they're gonna be with grown men, whether it's R. Kelly or not. So I don't consider in him like taking something from them that they never had. I don't feel like you can take someone's innocence if they're not innocent in a way.
I don't agree with that, Trent. I don't agree with that. I think that you can take a girl's youth and her innocence, even if like there are some girls who are quote unquote fast, but they don't really like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like you absolutely can take a girl's youth. And I don't agree with 15 and dating grown men at all. So that's where it's like, that's where we got to disagree right there. I don't know.
We're not disagreeing though at all. I'm telling you, we're not. Because I think that a grown man has no business with a 15-year-old. But I still consider them to be two different animals.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys can hear him. Okay, so what's your take? Because I know your take is similar to Trent's.
Well, we been knew he was doing this stuff. So now all of a sudden people want to hop on this bandwagon and come down on him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not even on trial for anything. It ain't much for me to say about it, but I'ma still be fucking with R. Kelly. I'ma still be playing this music. We all got somebody in our family that's messed up. So I really don't understand, why especially us in the black community want to sit up here and come at him like this when they don't do this to Charlie Sheen. He out here giving bras AIDS and stuff, and ain't none of them attacking him the way they're attacking R. Kelly.
But you don't feel any type of way as far as when it comes to the girls being underage?
Oh man, it's a lot of celebrities out there that's doing that stuff.
So you still support him even if he is like he's not on trial and he hasn't been convicted, but we do know his track record of messing with Aaliyah when she was underage, and we know his attraction to younger girls and his track record. So you're saying that that doesn't bother you in any type of way? You don't feel no type of way as to the age thing? Like it's just a messed up thing that you just overlook, or because he isn't on trial?
Just think about this. Just think about this. He messed with Aaliyah in 1994, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on to now, this man been making album after album after album, and he been making millions after millions after millions. So obviously we've been supporting this man, even though we knew he been doing this stuff. So why all of a sudden it's a change?
I think because of the new allegations that he has a sex cult and the new allegations.
But listen, you hear this? A sex cult? Really? If I'm a millionaire, I'm gonna have a gang of brides too living in a house.
Mm-hmm.
Is that supposed to mean I got a sex cult? That don't make no sense.
Right. So you don't agree with the whole.
No sense at all. If I'm wealthy, I'm gonna have as many brides as I want. That's just how it go. When you got money like that, you can do whatever. Look at Floyd Mayweather. Do he have a sex cult? He got what? He got about 5 or 6 bras up in there. Ain't nobody saying that's a sex cult. It's only a sex cult when it comes to us.
Okay, so her Supreme commented, and she said, quotes, "Everyone is doing it, so that makes it okay, question mark." And then she said, "You sound stupid." So what do you have to say to that?
Okay. Everyone is doing what?
You
what
said
is she talking about? Doing what?
No, she's talking about when you said all the celebrities are doing it, like having multiple women.
I didn't say it was okay. I didn't say messing around with underage females was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But not you. But these people in our community don't come this hard at other people. Only when it comes to us. And that's sad that they fall for the bait.
They funny in the chat. Somebody said that you ready to pee. I'm not about to play with y'all. I'm not about to play with y'all. Y'all is funny. But I get your point of view, and I feel like would you feel this way if you weren't a fan of his music, or is it because you like his music that you are biased? Do you feel like you're biased in any way to your thoughts about R. Kelly based on you liking his music?
The thing is, I'm not a judgmental person. I don't judge people. We all got our flaws. I know for a fact I won't bring my damn daughters around his ass, but I still with his music. I know as a grown person, I wouldn't have my kids sleeping over Michael Jackson's house, but I with his music. If you got an uncle that's still in your family, would you want him to spend a night over your house?
No, but supporting his music is like letting him spend a night at your house. That's like supporting him in a way.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, we all got flaws, and I'ma still mess with his music, and them allegations or whatever it is. I'm pretty sure all that stuff is true, but hey, we all got flaws.
Okay, so let's talk classic hip hop. Says, why aren't you, as a black man, standing up for young black girls?
What do I got 2 girls now. What is he talking about?
Saying that
kids. I mess with the kids in the community. How he know? That's all I want to know. You don't know what I'm doing in the hood.
No, but I guess in this instance, like taking up for R. Kelly is like not taking up for them. So it's like, why are you?
No, it's not. A lot of those females around 16, 17, they probably knew what they was doing. Let's not act like we didn't know this. Even the parents knew what R. Kelly was doing with them girls. And they still was messing with him. Would I do that? No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so if it was your daughter and she was with R. Kelly, this is a question from Angela. If it was your daughter inside the cult, would your mind be changed?
What cult?
R. Kelly's alleged cult.
He don't have a cult. He he don't have a car? Would my mind be changed if he was in there? Yeah, it would. I'd be wanting to beat his ass. And that's coming from a parent.
But isn't that a little hypocritical?
Okay, I understand. No, it's not hypocritical. If I had a daughter that was in the hey man, look, that's my little girl, you know. Yeah, I'd be pissed off.
So because it's not your daughter, you're not affected directly. You don't care.
I didn't say I didn't care. But what I'm saying is, you know, as far as his music, I get, you know what, you're right. I don't care. It ain't my daughter. I wouldn't have my daughters near that stuff.
If you had an 18-year-old daughter, let's say she's legal. If you had an 18-year-old daughter.
Oh, that's on her then.
So you wouldn't care at 18.
That's on her.
With a 50-year-old man. How old is R. Kelly? 50?
Yeah, hey, you know what it is. You 18, you grown, you do you.
Nah, my 18-year-old couldn't be with a 50-year-old.
Nah, well, she grown. You can't tell her what to do at that point. All you can do is give her the advice on it.
Oh, okay. Now you answer. What's your thoughts on R. Kelly?
Well, it's kind of like what I said, chat room. You got to get off of this double standard thing. What R. Kelly did and is doing, he's mentally sick.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't excuse cougars when they do the exact same thing.
Okay.
So it's like we'll have this double standard of saying, okay, Selena Gomez is with a 17-year-old. Oh, but that's cool. We'll have this double standard of Keith Chief was 16 years old and he was dating a 32-year-old. But that's okay. Or we'll have this thing of when the 32-year-old got pregnant, the judge makes the 16-year-old pay her child support. So, again, what R. Kelly is doing is incorrect. He has a real sick problem, but we can't have double standards. And sometimes when we try to explain to our female counterparts that this is a double standard, they try to negate what we're saying or downplay what we're saying.
Okay.
Equality happens both ways. It can't just be anti-male.
I'm not too sure about that because every time that I hear about and unfortunately, the only time that I hear about an extreme age difference when it comes to the women and a younger man is normally when it's like a teacher-student type of situation. Those are the only scenarios that I'm aware of. And those women get crucified just like the men. They get, they lose their careers. They get crucified. They're pedophiles. And those are the narratives when I hear of a grown woman and a young person that's like 15, 13, 12, whatever. Those women get crucified. So I feel like it's pretty equal, but I don't know. Those are the only scenarios that I hear of, like an older woman with a young man. I mean, there are cougars who date people in their 20s, but when I hear about it going on the underage realm of things, I think that's more or less like the times that I heard it was like teacher student, and those women get just as crucified. Now when it comes to the older women and the younger men being in their like early 20s or their 20s and stuff like that, I mean, we hear about it, but we hear about it more with the men. So I think that's why the men are more like held to a different standard, because the men are like the more dominant ones, I guess I would say. So it's like, it feels like they're being taken advantage of with the guys versus.
Well, let me ask you a question. So I'll agree with you about the teacher, but that only started happening 5 years ago.
Hey, Nick, how's it going? How you doing?
I'm good. What's your thoughts on R. Kelly before I end the chat?
All right. So with what that last guy was saying about like there being a double standard, as a dude, okay, fine. Like I get where he's coming from, and I agree that sometimes when we're talking about like certain issues, if we don't acknowledge that there's a double standard, then we sometimes can't move forward. But I think that we can't like let that distract us. You know what I mean?
Right.
I hate when people like throw up smoke trees. Like right now, we're talking about this particular issue. We're talking about R. Kelly. We're not talking about like I know before we even like begin to dive into issues, a lot of times people want to take it to another place. There's a double standard between men and women. Like I have 2 younger sisters, and I have a younger brother, and I know like if I heard that their teacher had abused them or like they had like sexual relationships, I probably would take it differently. But I think I take it differently if I found out it was my brother than if I found out it was my sister. But there's also just the natural fact that like there's the implication of, I think a lot of times people assume that men are never going to be in a position where like they're going to be dominated, right, or like overpowered,
or the victim. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Even though that's not necessarily the case, and there are like psychological issues and different things that come along with it, right? But I just feel like it's a cheap way to kind of distract from what's going on. And I'm not saying like R. Kelly being abused at 14 or 15 or whatever is like, you know, something that should be brushed under the rug. But I don't think it justifies abusing someone else. You know, like it doesn't make sense.
Okay, so what do you think about the 19-minute song? Do you feel like he's redeemed himself? Do you feel like he should be condemned in the way that he is? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole like mute R. Kelly and all of those things?
Well, I was having this conversation in the chat, right? It's kind of interesting because like I was saying like I hate myself a little bit because the song kind of slaps, but like there's a difficulty sometimes between separating an art from the artist, right? Like I don't know. I wouldn't say he's redeemed himself. I don't even know if this is the most, like, is this an appropriate way to address this? Like, these are serious allegations. Do you really just want to flippantly drop another Trapped in the Closet saga about, like, really, really serious issues? But then I think, like, well, because someone was saying, like, if you really wanted to help, maybe you should go seek therapy or whatever. But it's like, I don't know that as if he's an artist that, like, he wouldn't still put this in his art, right? You see it all the time with, like, Kanye does some dumb shit or some crazy shit. And even though it's not really, like, it's not, like, in his music he necessarily apologizes for it, but it just shows up in his music. So I feel like if this is something that's so huge, it's, like, probably something that's taking centerfold in most of his life, and he's probably going to want to address it in some way or form. So I think at the end of the day, maybe it was something, I guess it's definitely a way for him to try and reach out to whoever he thinks is still supporting him. But I can also see it as it being like catharsis, you know what I mean? Like just a song for him. But I don't know. I'm not here to defend that guy. Like it's
yeah. I mean, I think he said that, I think in the song he addressed the reason why he was taking it to song, because that's the way that he's able to express himself the best, if I'm remembering the lyrics correctly. And he was saying something along the lines of, and that was another reason why he brought up him not being able to read and write, and, him being able to express himself in the song form. He can like get things out a little better. But I mean, I get what you're saying too. So I don't know. There's a lot of conflicting views because people like him as an artist, and like you said, it's hard to separate the artist from the actual person. So I think that's where a lot of conflicting things come in. And then there's people who just outright look at him as a monster, and they're like, no, he's violated these people. They don't care like if it's actually proven. It's like just the accusation alone coming from several sources, I believe some people believe is enough to condemn him. But then some people feel like, just an accusation alone isn't enough to condemn him. So, I mean, there's different ways to look at it.
Let me put the question to you, because, like, even in the comments they're saying, like, yo, black people are too forgiving, whatever. And I know, like, that's a pretty loaded statement. There's a lot that comes along with that. Like, maybe they're just sometimes it's almost just a matter of, like, you're just happy to see certain people in certain positions, so you don't want to believe certain things. Like, when you look at, like, Joel Cosby, for example, like, there's still people in denial about that, no matter how many people come out and make allegations. Like, okay, like you personally, were you a fan before at any point in your life?
Of R. Kelly?
Yeah.
I like R. Kelly's music. I feel like there's like, if you don't like some of his music, like I feel like he has such a huge catalog that is some part of his music. And like he said, he's a part of the culture. So I definitely like some of his music. I don't like all of R. Kelly's music, but I like his music. My mom was an R. Kelly fan, so I listened to a lot of his music. When it came to the allegations, a lot of the times I like to view celebrities as, you know, a situation by situation based thing. So it wasn't like, I don't feel like I have bias towards like R. Kelly being that I like his music, because I'm not like, I wouldn't call myself like a super fan. Like I'm not gonna go out and like buy his album and like buy certain things. Like, you know, like the song came out, I listened to it on YouTube, but I mean, yeah, to answer, I guess I don't know. I don't know if I would consider myself a fan, but I do like some of his music.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I guess it's a complicated situation because like we're seeing it all over the place now too. Like just with the, you know, the Me Too movement and other people coming out, you look back over people's bodies of work and like it just kind of changes. It changes people's legacy. Kind of like for me, I can't really listen to it the same way personally. You know what I mean? Like I go back and I'm like, now these songs seem a little messed up. And like I'm now seeing things that I never noticed before. Maybe they were just innocuous, innocent things, but it's just the way your mind works. It's like, you know, what would happen if, I don't know, something that was super popular that like everybody adored was, you know, was popping, and then like find out the creator was like a neo-Nazi or some shit like that. Like it just starts to
tank your views on him.
Yeah, you can't look at it the same. So I don't know, but
yeah,
I don't know, man.
But you thought the song slapped though?
I thought the song slapped, and I hate myself because I like it. Like I was like, damn it. I'm gonna try not to bump my head to it. I'm like, fuck, nah, I kind of slapped. Shit.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? Anyway, thanks for taking my call, though. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for calling in.
All right, keep up the good work.
All right, bye bye.